So I'm a strategic thinker. It's in my strengths test, literally my number one strength. It has served me well, actually. I'm usually able to break down complex projects into smaller tasks. I can see the big picture while navigating my way to success. However, while this is my superpower, it is also my Achilles heel, because it means I am also an overthinker, and I have wasted hours, days, and honestly even years overthinking on my goals, believing that I was making progress by strategizing, by making a plan and rethinking that plan and color coding that plan and organizing my notes. And yes, organizing and color coding has made my life easier. Knowing exactly where to find things when I need them has saved me probably hours, days, and maybe even years. But the key here is when I needed to find them. When I first started my business, and for a long time, I fell into the trap of thinking I had to have it all figured out before I could start. I spent so much time working on my business and not enough time working in my business. It was kind of like I was living my dream life and dream business, but all in my head. I was imagining what it would be like, and I was trying to strategize how to make every single detail work perfectly. I spent my time thinking and not doing. And I had no idea I was trapped in this loop until I experienced a severe trauma, which actually changed my perspective on so many things in my life. Now, some of you may already know if you follow me on Instagram or have followed some of my podcast journey. A few years ago, I was kidnapped and I was held captive and tortured for 4 days. Now, I don't want to get into too many details in this video, but I will link the full podcast episodes in the description if you want to hear more about that and how I got to where I am today. However, I do want to share something relevant from that experience that has actually made me a better entrepreneur. When I was being held, I had been beaten and raped several times over the course of these 4 days, and my face was so swollen I could barely open my eyes, and my feet were beaten so badly I could barely walk, let alone run away. So when my captor finally fell asleep, I thought that I had a chance to escape, and I knew I couldn't just run away because the place was booby-trapped and barricaded, and I couldn't just run for the door. So being the thinker that I am, I had to come up with another plan. So I did. I found a nylon strap and some electrical tape, and I thought that I could get into the bathroom and tape the door handle so the lock couldn't be opened from the outside. And then I thought I could tie the nylon strap to the door handle and then wrap it around the plumbing under the sink. And then I could get onto the bathroom counter and hit the fire sprinkler head to set off the fire alarm. And then I could get back down and grab the strap and brace myself to try and hold the door closed, and that I would be able to hold on until the fire department arrived and could rescue me. And for the next, probably hour or so, I sat in that chair running over that plan in my head, calculating every detail. The squeak of the bathroom door. Would it make a noise when it was closed? How many seconds would it take for me to wrap the doorknob with tape? How long would it take me to climb onto the counter? And how long did the strap need to be? How long would it take for the fire department to come? I even tried counting the number of blocks in my head to the closest fire department. And I ran through this plan 100 times, trying to convince myself that it was a good plan, that I had to just do it. I remember having an argument with myself in my head, saying, "This is a good plan. Just execute the plan. Why aren't you just executing the plan? You never execute the plan. You have execution problems." And about an hour later, I had not executed the plan, and instead I was caught in the bathroom by my captor with tape stuck to my fingers. I had lost my opportunity to execute that plan, and I put myself in more danger. Now, in hindsight, I'm able to look back and think of 1,000 reasons why my brain wouldn't let me execute that plan. And who knows if it would have even worked. One of the things I learned from that experience was that I have execution problems, not just in life and death scenarios, but in every aspect of my life. I would overthink everything. I couldn't decide what to order at a restaurant. I would change my clothes 6 times before leaving for work. I would design projects that had 27 extra steps, and I would write 2,000-word emails because I thought they needed every single detail. Now, sometimes this shows up as perfectionism, and sometimes it's clearly anxiety. And sometimes, when it's a real problem to solve, my superpowers kick in and I can strategize my way out. But Learning to use this skill when it's needed and learning to execute when it's important is probably the biggest key to my success. I learned that over-strategizing was a trauma response, and it came from some pretty early childhood traumas. Now, early childhood traumas are actually one of the biggest predictors of later life traumas. So it's no surprise that overthinking and trying to control every detail is exactly why my plan didn't work. Now, my brain was stuck in survival mode. My brain is actually what was preventing me from executing that plan. My brain, aka my subconscious mind, could see all the holes in my plan long before I could, and it was preventing me from taking action. This is known as the fight, flight, freeze response, and I was stuck in freeze mode because somehow my brain knew that to do nothing was safer than to execute that plan. Now, in that moment, it probably saved my life. However, when I wasn't in life-threatening situations, and all that I was trying to do was to get dressed or make plans or reach a small goal, my brain had been hitting the freeze button my whole life. Now, it wasn't until I learned how to shut off the freeze response to actually start to move forward and to begin to reach my goals. So in the next video, I'm going to break down exactly how I did this and how to stop being afraid of the fear. So check it out.